Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show, where after a while, the little voice in your head says, why am I watching this? Well, good morning, and a big welcome back to Sam Degreen. How the heck are you?
Good. How are you, Rick?
Good. You know, there's a little thing that happens every time I go live. Somebody sends me a text that reminds me that I need to turn my phone off.
Oh, dude, that's a good idea.
You frozen her for just a second. Oh, now you're going. We have a little bit of lag going on your end, but nothing earth-shattering. Such is the life of the internet, right? So,
especially now because we got Cox has been doing some sort of internet thing outside my house for about 2 months. I don't know. You never win. You can never win with the internet.
Yeah, you roll down your window and go, are you helping or hurting?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shoot. Well, never fear, because we're going to talk a little bit about this today, that the Biden administration wants to expand broadband access everywhere. I thought Elon Musk was going to do that.
He was probably he was probably supposed to. But he needed government subsidies in order to do it. You know, this whole thing with infrastructure, they always say, oh, this is going to change, bring us to the 21st century. Look, there's no doubt some of our infrastructure needs an update. But as far as stimulating the economy and bringing jobs and real wealth to this country, I don't see that doing much of anything. It could just be me. I could be wrong.
It doesn't look like the markets are thinking that either, right? Because I'm looking at 10-year treasuries, and they're kind of trading flat right now. And if there was this feeling that the proposal was going to get passed and that it was going to light the economy on fire, wouldn't that start moving up or rather aggressively?
You'd think so. I think the market has already priced in some sort of stimulus package. Look, Joe Manchin, for instance, is starting to be trouble for the Democrats. He's one of the blue dog Democrats from what's the state? Somebody in the comment section will remind me. But
West Virginia, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And then John Tester from Wyoming has said, look, we're not going to play these games. We're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to sign off on these bills. And yeah, it really is a shame. What we need to do is go back to work. That's what will get the economy booming.
I agree. I think I want to share a couple of real estate numbers for you in the audience. This morning, we came in at 4,330 active listings, which again is just way down there. It's low, right? But there's a couple interesting sales in here that kind of tells you what's going on in our market. There's a home on 93rd Place that was purchased for $825,000 in August of 2013, resold for $1.2 million in December 2019 for $37,500 over asking price. It was listed a couple weeks ago at $1.5 million, and it sold for $1.7 million, all cash.
Jackpot.
All cash. Where do you get that? And then another one on 74th Drive, purchased a year ago for $520,000. It was listed 3 weeks ago at $675,000. So that's the list price. Now, you're from out of state, you're looking at homes in Arizona, and you're going, oh, here's a nice home for $595,000. Here's one for $675,000. But the reality is this one for $675,000 went under contract for, are you ready? $810,000. Inspection period reduced to 5 days.
Oh,
and $30,000 earnest money went non-refundable right after the inspection period. And then a property coming soon at $565,000 went under contract within 24 hours for $620,000. So they're just saying it's coming soon, and somebody went and said, I'll give you $620,000, and they didn't even have to put it on. And so what we're seeing over the last 4 days is the first sign of a noticeable increase in supply. And since the start of the year, so supply is trying to come on. Sales can drop off rapidly, but supply just has to creep on. And so you're seeing all these articles that the real estate's red hot and there's all kinds of buyers. Buyer traffic's actually down 10%. You just can't find anything.
You know, one of the things I learned researching for this is in 2008, we were building about 1 million homes, and I could be wrong, so please correct me if I am, but if we were building about 1 million houses a year prior to 2008. Well, after 2008, you know, we said never again are we going to have a glut of homes in the market. So they built about 750,000 homes annually. Well, that's fine for a few years, but over 14 years since it happened, or 13 years or whatever, that's 3 million less homes on the market. And so the supply really is the biggest issue. Plus you're having supply chain bottlenecks and things like that all around the world. I bought my house for $450, and I've already made 50% on paper. But it's unbelievable. I'm thinking something's got to give. Something's got to give.
It doesn't feel, we got a question here. How's the market in 85037? It's the same everywhere, every zip code, every city, and every state. So it's that wild. Something doesn't feel right about this market right now to me. You know, and not that real estate is a gut feeling, but what concerns me is that I get it. Everybody wants to get a house, but they're foregoing some very important things. There's going to be some regret with these people that are paying $800,000 for a $650,000 house and waiving the inspection. And then you have to, you know, it's not going to appraise for 810, right? So you've got to cover that gap with cash at the closing table. So, you know, now when you're going to buy a house, you have to factor in, I got a down payment, I got closing costs, then I got to hold some extra money here in case I don't hit that appraisal. And it's just getting crazier and crazier. And except in the over 55 communities, that market is stable.
Is it really?
All of the snowbirds are going home this week. They always leave after Easter. They go back.
It's a slow time for us.
They don't like to list when they're gone because they don't want to fly back and get their furniture and go, you know, so they only list when they're here. Yeah. And the people looking to buy them are not here. So there isn't this battle. So if you're from out of state and you're looking to move to Arizona and you don't want to get into these crazy bidding wars, that's the sandbox you should be playing in.
So do you think supply is going to get tighter then?
In over 55, it seasonally gets tighter. It never really came up. I know one area I track normally has 150 homes on the market. It's got, 26. So it might go back down to 19 again. But even with those 26, they're still not, you don't have to come in 50K over that. But I was going to ask you, when we see the interest rates kind of moving like they are, and the central bank has said, well, he first came out and said, we're not even thinking about raising rates until maybe 2023. And then he comes out this week and says, well, we might go up this year. The market is kind of pricing that in already. We're already seeing the bond market react. That's going to push rates up. Where do you see this trending? Do you guys study that and look at that?
What you just said was key. There's no straight answer. And the people who are in charge, the Fed, of getting bond prices stable and creating stability in the market, which is their mandate. The market can handle all the bad news in the world, but it cannot handle uncertainty. It cannot handle uncertainty. So where the trend goes, I don't know. That's just an honest thing. But what I do know is, because we don't know, there's going to be a load of volatility. And I think you're going to see huge spikes and then drop-offs. you're going to see a lot of different things in the bond market. Now, the key word here is they're always saying, oh, it's going to be transitory. Well, I hope that, Janet Yellen has said, if the economy runs hot, we're going to let it go. Powell said the same thing. But now, like you said, they just, reneged on that. So that is really tricky. But what we are going to see is a lot of volatility. And that's both good and bad. It creates opportunities, but it also, especially in your field, I mean, that, 1 week to the next is going to be way different.
Yeah, it's tough for these mortgage guys to sit there and try and figure out when to rate lock. It's especially when you look at new construction, because new construction, you have to lock for a long period of time and it costs you money because they're not getting your house done in under 6 to 8 months. And tough.
And you're seeing huge supply chain problems as well. Yeah. That ship, I don't know why, I just find it so funny that a ship the size, 4 times the size of the Eiffel Tower, a gust of wind blows it into the Suez Canal and costs the global economy $100 an hour or $100 million an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you also have bottlenecks at ports in California. If you have an 8-hour shift, you have to spend 1 hour of that 8-hour shift cleaning things down to prevent COVID. Well, that's 3 hours that they're not unloading the containers. So you're seeing huge lines around California ports. You're not seeing any. The supply is dwindling because nobody can get it in fast enough, and there's no workers anywhere around the world. That's the problem. Everybody's working at half capacity.
Yeah, and that's back to your original point that said, we don't need a stimulus plan. We just need to get back to work.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting. The CDC said that there's no data that shows that it spreads on contact, but they still have the guy wiping off the handles at Safeway before I go in on the grocery cart, and they're still spraying everything down. So all of the information is so conflicted. And even today, they said that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been put on hold.
Do you know how many people? Do you know how many people were sick on that Johnson & Johnson vaccine?
No.
6 of 6 million. That's what this whole thing's about. 6 people had blood clots out of 6 million.
Wow.
What the heck? You find it doesn't make any sense. I don't want to be cynical. They're pushing just for control. I think they want to see how far they can go with this thing.
I got my shot last week, my second shot. And I told my son, he goes, how was it? And I said, it was probably the best 2-hour nap I ever had because it made you tired. And I kind of laid down. I was out, but I had no other side effects. But I said, that was the best 2-hour nap I ever had. I mean, I'm talking deep sleep.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. I have no complaints. So.
Maybe it could be a sleep aid.
Yeah. Hey, Judy here says, in the area I have focused on, I've noticed that I am receiving emails daily with price drops. So hopefully this market will be stable and reasonable. I think what that is, Sam, when I see that, whenever you have things start to escalate, people get a little over optimistic, like that when we saw it sold for 810, like it sold mine for 810, and they put them on at that, and then they go, well, that was a stretch, and they pull them back. So most of the price drops are not a market drop. It's just individuals that kind of overstep their bounds a little bit.
It's kind of like when they create deals at, when you're shopping, they mark the price up and then they bring it down and make it feel like you got a good deal. I think that's more of a sales tactic. You mark it up, you go, let's see if anybody bites. Somebody might do it. Worst case,
there's some strange stuff going on in the MLS. I had one this week that we put an offer in on and we didn't get it. And the day that they went under contract, they put it on the market on Monday and raised the price by $25,000 and said it was active, even though it was still under contract.
Really?
makes me think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to trick an appraiser into going, oh, they got their asking price. And appraisers, they have access to the history tab just like I do. So they're gonna look at that. In your wealth management business, do you guys see much real estate activity in the higher end? In other words, do some of your clients hold a portfolio of real estate? And if they do, are they talking about what they want to do with it? They want to sell it soon, or they want to hold more? What's going on?
So the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is we have usually this is among the wealthier clients, about 4 million and up. And they'll have about 2, 3, 4 houses. Which they're renting. Well, right now they're going, I got enough money, might as well just sell this thing. And so actually what we're seeing in our business is people selling. They're just going, I'm going to take the money and run. I don't need the income. It'd be better for me to just get a lump sum on the 4 houses that I own than it would be to just keep kind of treating it like an annuity. But we're seeing a lot of selling actually. Huh. And, part of that is people getting older. They don't want to deal with the homes anymore and so on. Are you seeing that as well among
the high end market? Over 1 million is on fire. Last year, homes over 1 million, we sold in the month of March, we sold 200. And this year we sold in March, 411. That's a lot. So that market is bouncing around pretty good. In the regular old average market, the real challenge is I want to sell my house, but I don't know where I'm going to go. I mean, if I know this house is worth more money, and it's a catch-22, so they're stuck. And so, there's a mortgage product that we're going to talk about in March with Pat from Price Mortgage, who gave me a shirt. So, and this mortgage product is by, what the heck's the name of the bank? Washington Mutual. And it takes the equity of your house, and then it takes the house you want to buy, and it kind of bundles the two together. It's kind of complicated, and he's going to explain it.
I was looking into that.
It gives you the money to go get your other house, and you can finance it. You can go get it and then take the time to sell your house. It's a great product because now you don't have that anxiety of saying, well, I want to sell, but if I got to close in 30 days, where the heck am I going to go? Because we're seeing a huge uptick in people requesting lease backs. I want to sell it to you, Sam, but I want you to lease it back to me for 30 days because I need time to go find something else.
Yeah. And that was
the hardest thing.
Yeah. That's what happened to my mother-in-law. Same thing. I mean, just, complete, I think that is going to be a really good product. I have one child, just 3 months old, and my wife and I are planning on having more children, but I'm looking at houses. I'm going, I'd rather have something I grow into. I can't find anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. And, it's something's got to give though. Something has got to give. There's just no reason I should be paying $1 million per square foot or something, or for 4,000.
Well, what is your data telling you in your firm? I mean, what kind of things do you see coming down the road that, keep you up at night or make you, get pretty optimistic? Is there anything out there that has the potential of going boink and then the housing market gets affected?
I can see this as a good thing for the housing market. It has to do with, again, we talked about that lack of supply, lack of supplies, right? We have, lack of copper. We have a lack of wood, again, because everybody's working at half capacity. Well, there's such a huge demand that manufacturers, it's called the bullwhip effect. And basically it creates it. You have to think of it like cracking a whip. How in the beginning, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you go through the supply chain. what that will do, and this happens with semiconductors, is you're going to see the price of materials come down. So right now the market's tight, and I think a lot of it has to do with the with the price of materials. But one of the things I am optimistic about is that because there's such a huge demand, materials will eventually come down as things begin to open up. But as far as keeping us up at night, right now, it doesn't keep us up at night, but it worries us. The tax situation. We can't.
Yeah.
They can twist somebody's arm. All it takes, one person. It's 50-50 right now because Manchin said no. John Testers said no. But you never know. There's some backroom stuff.
If I had a lot of holdings and I was worried about capital gains, this would be the year I'd get rid of it.
That to me would be the dumbest thing that they could possibly do. Because what is the most underfunded liability right now on a state's balance sheet? That's the pensions. Well, they rely on those capital gains. So if you raise the capital gains, you're only making the pensions work that much harder, and things get worse. You have a bigger retirement crisis.
Yeah, like we need a bigger one. So it's I think I spoke a little bit yesterday and said that, you're going to start seeing these numbers that either, the explosive growth, roaring 20s, and then you're going to see, oops, inflation's really ramping up. But we're comparing this to last year when everything was closed. Everything was closed to, so being up 20% means nothing because we were 100% shut down. And we have inflation because of the supply side issues that we have that should probably go away. I'm moving a little cable down here. So when I look at the numbers that are coming out now and I look at the explosive growth and then I look at the inflation, it just appears to me that this is temporary.
I would agree with that. I think you actually hit the nail on the head on that one. It is going to be a very interesting time. Oh, we got a question. Hey, Sam.
If you're willing to move to the border of Santan and Queen Creek, you can build a 6-bedroom home in the low 500s. Sync with me offline if you want to know more. He must be a home builder.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Queen
called
Creek
drive till you qualify. So
Queen Creek's pretty far away from me, or pretty far away from where I work. That'd be about 2 hours of my life each day.
Well, not unless you get a helicopter. So
you're a genius.
Sam says nobody has pensions anymore, though. Well, cities do, schools, municipalities,
military.
Yep. You're right.
And I'll tell you what, those pensions are sweet. Yeah. Every time we get a teacher that comes in, or we have a city worker, he's not a home builder. Every time we see somebody that works for the military, boy, are those pensions lucrative. Yeah. I mean, they're almost 6 figures in some cases.
Wow. If I could wind back the clock.
Right? I mean, well, God bless them. I feel bad I hope they don't get their benefits cut. They were promised those benefits. It's wrong to take that away. But in the future, you got to change these defined benefit plans to defined contribution plans. It has got to be up to the individual to save for their own retirement. The state cannot afford to keep doing that. Essentially what they're doing, though, is buying votes. When they say, hey, we're going to give you this retirement benefit and all that, they're basically just saying, yeah, down the line, we're going to buy your vote. And
I know the city of Phoenix is kind of in trouble with their pension. So,
every state around the country is. And part of Biden's package was bailouts for a lot of these pension funds. They just cannot. They were relying on a 7% return. Yeah, and God bless them, but you're not going to get that. You can't even earn interest at the bank.
No, you can't. You can't. It's tough. I'm going to share what you sent me yesterday, and that was the visualizing the 700-year fall of interest rates. That's very
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'll put this up here. So
Now I want to caveat this by saying what matters is where you are on that line. So even though interest rates have been declining for 700 years, that doesn't mean there's not going to be spikes during your lifetime that aren't going to affect you. But one of the reasons I'm not too worried about inflation long term is that technology has just made everything so much cheaper. We could fit 5 billion transistors on a microchip. In 1970, we could fit about 2,000. And it's just you'll notice as it comes down, what's the only thing that's changed? It's technology. We work more efficiently. And again, though, but I found this chart just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's a Amadi Rommel loan to King, whatever, 18%. Simon Van Halen to Edward III, 35%.
Van Halen, what's he doing up there?
Annual real rate trend, 1.9.
Jeez.
Well, it's interesting stuff. I think, the other thing you said about technology too is that it's going to be hard to build any sustainable inflation, even with all this money that's supposedly circulating in the economy. I'm looking at, they've even stopped counting M2 now, right? What, they don't want us to see it, or what's the story with that?
It's a pretty convoluted thing. It's more of it's a little bit of a financial game that they're playing basically to make, I think, things sound a little better. They're basically using it to say that it's an accounting change. And I think what the Fed is doing is they're saying, well, this way we can say there's a ton of money on the sidelines if something goes down. I think it just creates some stability in the market. They weren't counting savings as part of the money supply, but now they are. So it makes it look like there's a lot more cash on the side ready to be deployed, but that money was never going to be deployed. And when you buy something in the market, somebody's selling it to you. So the net effect doesn't change. So it's a financial manipulation game that the Fed is playing.
So when we look at M2 and then we look at M2 velocity, is it correct to say that the velocity is the money moving? Because that chart went down and now it's barely going anywhere. Or is that something we don't even need to watch? Does it mean anything at all?
Velocity, I think, is more important. You want to see money change in hands. You want to see it happen quickly. Again, I think there's some financial manipulation going on with the Fed. I don't have an answer for you. It is just, it's one heck of a spider web, to say the least. The games, when you can print money, you can do whatever you want. You can you can change whatever you want to this column, to that column. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're just typing.
Yeah. Oh, here, press a button, bam, problem fixed. It's
well, I kind of look at it and I remember working in the 70s when inflation was going like crazy. I was in a grocery store, and this is before scanners. Oh, my full-time job in that store was just going up the aisle changing prices. And you did it with these little ink stamps on the cans and stuff, and then a label gun. And sometimes you'd have a package that, so let's say you had a sticker on this, $1.75. You would end up with a pile of stickers because you're changing the price again and again and again. Some guys are too lazy to take them off. You're supposed to scrape them off, put a new one on. But it was the greatest illustration of what inflation was. You got one product like a box of macaroni and cheese that has 6 stickers on it. The price has been raised 6 times. over this
While you're
period.
sitting there waiting in line, it's changed.
Just about. And so Nixon put in a wage freeze. Do you remember reading about that?
Yes.
Okay. So my brother worked at a pay and save store. I worked in a grocery store, and you could get a raise if your position changed. So, if you're in this job and they move you to the next job, you can justify getting an increase in pay. But just the standard employee that's out there could no longer get a raise, because Nixon felt that if he could just tamp down on wages, then he would control inflation. Wasn't the sharpest guy in the shed. And the grocery store that I was working on, I'll never forget, I was a senior in high school, or a junior, something like that. They're all walking around with these new tags. All of a sudden, they're all vice presidents. And I didn't get it. They're all like, hey, look, I've been promoted. I'm VP. Everybody was a VP, the produce guy and everything. And I was a clerk. And it was like, I was the guy that bagged your groceries. So I made my own tag that said bag manipulating technician. I didn't get a raise. I tried to. No. But I illustrate that because when inflation starts roaring, it does take off. Government does some of the dumbest things because they don't understand what's causing it. And it's too much money chasing too few goods, just like housing right now.
Yeah. And the gold standard, going off of the gold standard, just to touch on that for a sec. That was the first time in human history where money was no longer attached to the price of metals. And so working the kinks out of something that we had been doing for centuries, that's pretty amazing if you think about it. Did it go well at first? No, it did not. I had a client tell me, he goes, yeah, my first mortgage in the 1970s was 22%. And I'm going, 22% interest. And eventually the Fed got it under control. But in this world, in this day and age, it's too easy to manipulate the price of precious metals, especially with China, who, they're starting to play games too. They're starting to control some of the precious metals too, which is also affecting housing. They just put a freeze on copper prices. So it is, it is a tricky world out there, Rick. I'll tell you.
You have all this money out there right now, and there's only a few places to send it to get a return. It's the stock market, it's real estate, and it's Bitcoin. I mean, and those are all, Bitcoin is what, 62,000 today.
Is it really?
Let's get an update right now. It says here 60. No, I was wrong. It's $63,598. Where's that going? Nobody knows. You can't trade that looking at a trend chart, can you? It just
no. Well, I don't understand how something. First of all, if the electricity goes out, what's Bitcoin worth?
Yeah, I know. I think we touched on that a little bit last time too. I mean, if they mandate all these electric cars, where are we going to plug them in?
Yeah, and then it creates the CO2. It just sounds good on paper. If I could give one piece of advice to your audience, it's tempting to buy Bitcoin. Don't. If you got Bitcoin, God bless you. But I'm just going to say, I don't trust it. And I don't think it's going to be long before governments crack down on it. China's already cracking down on it. Government's going to get their piece. And if they see a rapid rising price, they're going to get their hands on it.
Yeah, I think they, if they can't get a chunk of that, i.e. taxes, and if they're worried that this Bitcoin is going to be all operating back in the weeds, they're going to try and do something about it. How to use a credit card if electricity goes out. On paper, it's what we used to do.
Oh, yeah.
You put down this little slip, you put the card in, and then you shake it. As Sam's saying, the Fed will come out with their own crypto. They're talking about that. I mean,
Be surprised.
But they would, you have to understand, I think they won't do it because they think that's the newest, latest trend. They'll try to do it to slow down Bitcoin. And Elon Musk is saying, Elon disagrees, big money going into Bitcoin. Yeah, it's very interesting to watch right now.
I think I set your comment section on fire.
If you say anything about Bitcoin on YouTube, there's this, and my audience doesn't do this, but I've seen other guys in comments and they push like, my buddy Matt made me 275% increase, and they start pushing this one guy, and everybody's got their guy, and they just throw it in the comment section. So you have to get in there and you have to delete the original comment because it just goes nuts.
Look, if you make money on Bitcoin, God bless you. But it's not an investment, it's a speculation. And yes. I think you're seeing a lot of that. People are willing to pay for Bitcoin because they think the price is going to increase. They're doing the same thing that they're doing with housing. That's why people are willing to overpay for something. You go, you know what? It'll be worth more in 2 years. Bitcoin is my pension. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, who knows? It's fun to play with. I mean, it really is. I own some Bitcoin and I own some Ethereum just because it's there. And
it's an interesting technology, no doubt about that.
It's interesting stuff. My brother got one for like 40 cents and he sent me a message today and says it's $1.78. But he only put $500 in, but he's pretty giddy about it. And so it's like,
that's awesome.
It's just another, but I guess my original point is, all this money out there is not going into savings. It's going into speculative things. And that's eventually going to end. I mean, the stock market can't continue to be 35, 40,000, 50,000. How does the central bank ever unwind this?
Oh boy. Yeah. It's like playing a game of what's it called? Jenga. They're just going to do one piece at a time. And if they see that thing wobble even a little bit, it's over. It's over. You saw the taper tantrum in 2013 when the Fed tried to do that. What they're going to do, I think what the Fed's expecting is that we grow our way out of this. One of the things that they did was that they cut, they let the banks or loosened their reserve requirements, and they loosened their buybacks and let the banks kind of do more, so that I think they could take themselves out of the picture. I think they're just planning on growing their way out of the crisis, and they're going to have to do it so slowly. But at the same time, do you just rip the Band-Aid off? I don't know.
Well, I think the challenge is, growing, you get so much more tax revenue when an economy's taken off and it's going, but Absolutely. You have to stop this spending binge. So there's a real disconnect, like, 2.3 trillion. How do you pay that off with growth?
Yeah. So how do you pay it off when no one's working?
Yes.
That's the other thing. Again, it all comes back to, there is no need for a stimulus. They will control your finances. You will be paying taxes. After all, we got lots of folks in need. Yeah. Judy Lumber is my Lumber. Oh boy. I'm having a Biden moment. I forgot what I was saying.
No, it's like, trying to let growth, pay off this debt. I don't mind infrastructure spending if it's truly infrastructure spending. I don't. I think, you just drive around a few roads and see what's going on. That's that needs to be done. But don't tell me money here and money there is infrastructure, and just, it's almost like they got somebody's checkbook and they're just running around with it going, look what I found.
Yeah, exactly.
Writing checks.
one of the things in that infrastructure bill, if I'm not mistaken, is they're allowing, and we hadn't heard about this for a while, was they're allowing the earmarks again, or the pork belly things. There was a, I forget how it all took place, but during the Trump administration, if you were passing a tax bill, there's not going to be a playground in the bill for somebody just to get them on board.
Yeah.
Well, that's ended now. And in the new stimulus plan that Biden passed, is there's now room for earmarks. And so I think you're actually going to get a lot more spending. Unfortunately, even more spending than I think we anticipated, because in order to get the votes they need, you got to pay up.
Well, here's a frightening thing that went away. It looks like it's coming back. Biden moves to revive Obama plan to federalize suburban zoning regulations. So you look at that and go, oh, okay, well, I don't know what that means, but here's the challenge. Your neighborhood zoning is no longer decided by you and your neighborhood. It's now, they want it to be under federal control. So now take a house in Paradise Valley, $4 million, and you're next to a bunch of beautiful desert and vacant land. And the feds say you got to put in high-rise affordable housing in that neighborhood. And you have no say in it anymore, Sam, or you're not going to get your federal money.
It's central. It's central control. It is central planning. That's all it is. And it's just a way to take away freedoms, to be honest with you. The fact that our localities are what now too inept to create their own zoning laws.
Yeah. Yeah.
What business does the federal government have telling everybody who pays the taxes in that area what they need to do with it?
There's an opinion here. It said the ultimate goal of the plan is to eliminate single-family suburban neighborhoods entirely and to replace them with densely packed urban high-rises. But he expects this thing to be dead on arrival when they try to resurrect it. It was out there for a short period of time, and it was really one of the first things. Trump got rid of it because he's a real estate developer. He walked in and goes, "What is this?" And he killed it. But I think it's if you're care about your city, that you need to make local decisions. I feel the same way about education.
Yeah.
Education should be totally local within your school district. I don't think the Fed should have anything to do with education.
No.
That's the libertarian part of me. Like, just go away. We'll handle it in our hood. Okay. And, and it just save some money and save some control. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, I think it's a civil rights issue. You have the right to choose the school you want to go to. Yeah. Where you live you don't have the right to tell me where I go to school, and we've been a big advocate of school choice. That's something pretty near and dear to me. So I'm 100% on the same page with you. People are not stupid. They can make decisions for themselves. And I don't understand. That's the one thing that bothers me is this central planning stuff. I just don't know. What kind of mindset do you have to think what's best for my child?
Yeah.
What's my child's name? You don't know.
Yeah. Well, looking ahead now, as we get into, I don't see any tax changes coming yet. So I know you guys got your eyes on that. There's a lot of chatter, a lot of proposals, but maybe none of this will go through. I don't see anything, real estate's a demographic issue now. I don't see anything that's going to make inventory all of a sudden pop up. The only thing that's going to make inventory come up is some type of financial disruption in the credit markets.
What do you mean by
well, remember for a while there we were having problems with the repo market where the credit markets, overnight, so the central bank had to come in quickly and do that. And then what was it, 2 weeks ago, that hedge fund, was overextended and going belly up, and they were just about made a couple of banks crash. So there's always something silly going on out there that could make getting a loan even tougher.
Yeah. And the fun thing about that is they go, oh, we didn't know. Well, no, you did know, because there's emails telling you to have him deleverage. And so as far as hedge funds and things like that, and these big irresponsible bets, where you're watching Reddit take out, these $50 billion hedge funds.
Yeah.
It could create some ripples. I don't think it will create a crash. Again, back to who's borrowing for houses, even the credit score for the average buyer now is something in the 780s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
And so it's not like 2008 where there's a systematic failure. We have very, very good buyers. Like you said, people are willing to pay all cash, and it's who has the most, cash is ruling everything around you. So yeah, I would say I wouldn't. We have a good, healthy market. Just escaped San Diego. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's affordability is a tricky thing. So at what point do we reach unaffordable housing here in Arizona? And I say, well, when did it become unaffordable in San Diego? So we don't really know. Wages have to keep up. And with, the increase in the high tech jobs and everything we got coming in here, that may happen. But I really am just waiting for the numbers to increase in supply enough to where I don't like frenzied markets where you have bidding wars. I can't stand it. I don't like writing unended offers that are dead on arrival. And it takes time to write an offer. And and even when you're listing and you've got 20 offers on that house, that's 19 people you have to call and say, sorry, you didn't get the house. And and if you got any heart at all, those are tough calls.
Yeah.
And even when you're trying to go back and forth and try to get the most for the house, there's still some risk with it. You get the highest amount there and the guy can still change his mind. There's a lot of cash buyers going out and offering 3 different contracts on houses, and you think you're getting this amount for your house. The next day he cancels it because the other 2 accept it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of nonsense going on in this market. And when you see this much overbidding, waiving of appraisals, waiving of inspections, to me, that signals that something's about ready to crack. And it may not. Maybe we'll just slowly taper down to a normal market, but it doesn't make sense now.
I think the word you used yesterday was buyer fatigue.
Yeah.
And I don't think and I liked the word fatigue because it wasn't just buyer collapse, where they're just like, I'm done. I think it's more like, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to wait this sucker out. I have to, because there's you can't fight it. You can't fight all of this stuff going on when there's crazy bidding wars and things like that. Our clients are having trouble finding houses. Most of them have just said, screw it. I'll just wait. I lived here for 20 years. What's 21 more? Or what's 2 more?
Yeah, exactly. And that almost feeds into the inventory problem a little bit more. So it's
exactly, it's a big feedback loop. They got one of the things I don't understand, and Rick, you might be able to help me with this. Why can we not build more?
Well, we can. Here's how we evolved into this situation. So remember that, millennials were supposed to be never wanting to have a mortgage because they want freedom, and they saw what happened to their parents. And they didn't want to live in the suburbs. They wanted to live downtown, and they didn't want to have cars. They wanted to ride bikes. And they weren't going to be able to buy a house because they had all this student debt. And that's what was being fed over and over again in every real estate symposium you ever went to. And along comes somebody and said, no, millennials are going to be our biggest buying pool. And we go, yeah, sure. And builders weren't willing to go out and start building entry level houses. They shifted into the higher end because they said this buying pool doesn't have any money, nor do they have any desire. And so the experts were wrong. Now builders trying to ramp up have that supply problem issue that you talked about earlier. The expenses of lumber has raised the price of building on an average home by $25,000. And so they're just not, they don't have enough labor to do it. And then if you come along and one guy on the crew gets COVID, you're shut down for a few days. So they can't do it. Yeah. And, we've got a lot of desert. I mean, you drive up around the 303 up north there, there's plenty of room to build.
We got a lot of space
room out there, but you just can't find it. And then they're also releasing the lots only like 5 lots at a time, because they know that when they get ready to release the other 5 lots, they'll get, 15,000 more per lot. So they don't want to release 30 lots and be locked into that price while it takes them 6 to 8 months to build the house. So they're doing it in stages. Now, because
they don't want to get caught with the material costs.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yeah. So they're trying to hedge a little bit here, and they're hoping that by the time they release the next 5 lots, that at least lumber comes down a little bit. And so it's a tough time. And at the same time, you're going to reach a point here in Arizona where we run out of water. So,
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
They're going to be, I know Prescott a while back, their aquifers are kind of starting to dry up, and they were talking about restricting building. Water's always
becoming California.
Yeah. So
Calizonia.
Ann said here her rent in San Diego was $3,150 for a tiny home.
Holy moly. How many square feet was it?
Yeah, Leon, how many square feet is that? I know my son lived over there and he said he was paying 700. I thought that was pretty cool till he saw he had 2 roommates and the place was not as big as my car. So his portion was 700.
His closet was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I lived in Boston, you're paying $2,800 for something. It's not, my office is bigger than my bedroom was. I mean, it's you can't live like that. You cannot.
My first condo was 598 square feet, but I called it 600 square feet because I counted the patio, the deck. So we have to count that. It's not 598. And a cute little place, I paid $33,490 for it. Sold it 10 years later, and I didn't make a dime.
One of the things I think they could do that would actually do wonders for home buyers or for young home buyers, because we want them to own homes. That's the most important thing they'll ever, biggest purchase somebody will, usually ever make is their home. Student loan debt doesn't need to be just wiped out, but it does need to be able to be discharged via bankruptcy. So what happened was in the 90s, doctors and lawyers, they'd go to school, they'd finish, and then they declare bankruptcy. And so the rules were changed. But now you have all of these people, like you said, everybody thought the millennials were just, they didn't want the responsibility. They're stacked with student loan debt. Something's got to give. You want to talk about a bubble. We got almost $3 trillion in student loans. That's way bigger than the housing bubble was.
Yeah.
And if you loan $250,000 to an art student and expect to get paid back, you're an idiot. So I don't feel bad for these banks. But one of the reasons I think we're seeing such a pent up demand is there's forbearance on those student loans. And I would wonder what the long-term consequences would be if we allowed bankruptcy to take place, work out some kind of deal and just get on with your life. Because otherwise you have nothing ever. You're always going to be saddled under
it's really
debt.
out of control. And I see people using their student loans to help offset their rent. And so they end up living in these luxury apartments down by ASU. The other thing I see is in trying to help people get into housing, the issue isn't that we need more incentives and down payment assistance to help you get into a house. What we need is inventory. So are there any ways that tax policy, because I know, you've got, capital gains cap of, 250,000 for an individual, 500,000 for a couple. Is there any way to really rewrite that to where you have an incentive to sell your home and do something with that equity, something to give you the incentive to sell, not the incentive to buy?
It would have to be some kind of major tax credit, would be maybe a percentage of your house. Smash that like button.
Jason.
Yes, Jason, smash that like button. Oh, now I'm having another Biden moment. What was I saying?
Well, we're talking about the incentives to buy, and I'm saying we need incentives to list.
Tax credits.
Yeah.
That's the only, as a percentage of your home, say 10%. You're right. We either got to build more or we got to make it sweeter to sell your home. And nobody wants
out there that don't understand the current tax law. They think that if they sell, that they will pay capital gains on everything. They don't know there's 250 and 500 cap. So,
and that law's been around for 20 some odd years. I mean, we get a lot of questions about that, probably once a week. Somebody asks us about that. And it is really amazing, but it really is sad though, to watch those many people. Did I die?
Your audio's good. You're just frozen in time.
Oh boy. Well, at least I can see myself too. Let me try something.
Yeah. It's well, I think what we're going to do, Sam, I think we're going to, I got a comment on here. I want to see, Rick, how much would it have cost you to rent that condo compared to owning it, even though you didn't make any gains? I did rent it. I rented it for years. And it's right after we had our first child. And it was a disaster because I had people tearing it up and it was costing me more money. And I had to bring 5 guys once to remove this guy from the place. He wouldn't pay his rent. And,
wow.
It was an ugly, ugly experience for me. So that's the other side of renting. It doesn't always go simple.
What do you think is going to happen with the forbearance?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think much, Sam. When you look at the number of homes and you figure that there's 30,000 homes here in Arizona potentially that are on a forbearance plan. And we just had the first round of forbearances expire at March 31st. And I saw zero impact on listings coming on board, none. And,
really?
Because a lot of people just rewrote the loan and they're getting a lot of options. Now, let's say that half of those homes have to be put on the market. They can't restructure. They just got to sell them. That's only 17,000 homes. And that puts our inventory at 21,000 homes and normal's 40,000 homes. Well, there's such a shortage right now that as soon as those homes come on, they're going to go. So they won't all come on all at once. They'll, be this week, next week, week after. And I think they'll be gobbled up. The forbearances are not going to equal foreclosures in my opinion, simply because I haven't seen the numbers yet that tell me that could happen.
So it's just going to trickle in.
Yeah. And, I can be wrong, but that's why I track on a 7-day moving average how many new homes came on and how many went under contract. And that to me will be the first indicator of something. Lisa, I was able to buy in Arizona here 5% down. They paid all closing costs, fixed some items. This was January. Now there'd be no way. Yeah, you wouldn't stand a chance now. You could still do 5% down, but you wouldn't get them to pay anything. But, I'll tell you folks, if you want some help with closing costs, talk to your agent. We can kick things in. I know I have a closing cost credit for my subscribers Anything over 400,000, I'll give you $800 towards closing, and below that, $500. So I've had a couple people take advantage of that, but agents can assist you with that, and even some lenders can get you some lender credits to help. But the problem is solving the outbid situation. So Sam, I want to have you back again every month. It's interesting. I like to be able to get your feed on what's going on there and things that we should watch out for, and especially as we watch potential tax policy get ready to kick us in the hind end. So,
and we're going to have a new slew of corporate earnings today and this week and next week. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next month, because we've got, the big inflation data was today too. I mean, this morning at 2:30, I was staying up to look at that, but, I so enjoy being here, Rick, and I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
It's fun to have you. Last question before you go. Last time I talked to you, you just bought your 30th guitar. Is it 31 now, or are you still hanging at 30?
It's 37.
Oh, jeez.
I got a little carried away.
I'll let you.
I'm done.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Have a great week, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. You too, Rick. Take care.
See ya.